Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me this week is a full team. Mozza, how you doing, mate?
The less of the better. I'm okay, thank you.
It's not going to be a lot of enthusiasm here, is there, today? I can feel it, Drew, how you doing, buddy?
May have escaped the traffic jam of the A3, so yeah, I'm doing great.
It's a bit of a mental one. I'm aware of your journey on Saturday. AJ, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm enthusiastically looking forward to calling people certain things.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. I think we all know why we're here. We're here to sort of break down Saturday's frustrating loss to Everton. It's yet another game where Fulham have shown real impetus and real flair in the first 20 minutes of a game and look like they're completely in control. And then it's just gone to absolute pot. I don't understand what it is with us about these 20-minute windows where we look outstanding and then we just mess it up. Um, there's a lot to break down from Saturday. We had some moments where we were a bit unlucky, but ultimately luck has nothing to do with what has been an absolutely atrocious, 2-3 months following this football club. Fulham are the literal sort of the markers for it's the hope that kills you, because we've all gone into the last couple of months expecting that Europe might possibly be on the table, and they found a way to not only completely mess it up, but you know just frustratingly let everyone down, which is really, really annoying. We'll start with the usual one. Drew, I'm going to come to you with this because I know that you were particularly annoyed and frustrated by it on Saturday. The starting lineup by Marco.
Garbage.
What were the,
Garbage.
yeah, what were your general feelings on it, mate?
Garbage. Predictable. Garbage. We all knew it was coming. Why would you have Osman training with the first team and then he's not even in the match day squad? We all know what Vinicius is. For the love of God, how many times do we have to say Ryan Sessegnon's not a left back? Marco Silva must be the only person in Craven Cottage that thinks Ryan Sessegnon is a starting left back in the Premier League. We've seen it so many times, and this is why we are getting people starting to question Marco. I'm totally Marco in, but he makes decisions that I just genuinely cannot explain, and I fully accept he knows far more about football than I do. But it's not like I'm a lone voice here. Yeah, we have Bassi, who started his career at Rangers as left back. Yeah, we could have put him in at left back and brought Cuenca in to play the left-hand side of the defence and leave Cess going forward. Because let's be honest, at Villa, we were all there. He was one of our few legitimate attacking threats. And, yeah, his presence actually lowers the average age of the squad. Our squad age is average. What's the average? It's 28, I believe. It's third oldest in the league. And Ash, you opened the show by talking about, the last 2-3 months. It's eminently predictable. Fulham can look, as stealing AJ's words here, sorry AJ, prime Man City for about 15 minutes, and then there's a total collapse. I was deeply disappointed. I wanted to see Godot. I wanted to see King. If for no other reason, yeah, I wanted to see a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of energy. And as soon as I saw the lineup, well, that was it. You could have just phoned it in. It was so predictable. Garbage lineup. Absolute garbage. I'm sorry, but what can you say? It just, what really upsets me is the fact that, Fulham fans work hard all week, love the club. No matter what we think of the team, what we think of the players, we all love the club. And you go there and you come away feeling frustrated. And it's so eminently predictable because I think it was you, Ash. It might have been one of the other boys. I forget. We could be literally saying, we could be just saying to our subscribers, just go back and watch the last podcast, because we're talking about the same things. Refusal to blood youth, over reliance on established pros, over reliance on players that are clearly not 100% fit. I mean, poor Timothy Castagna. I mean, he's lucky he didn't hurt himself more, the injury he was carrying. God knows what shape Robinson's in, bless him. He was clearly dropped with a view to Brentford, and we haven't got to the Brentford preview yet, but I'm already shuddering because they'll be licking their lips. They will be licking their lips because we do not have the energy, the desire to match them. And against Everton, I mean, well, garbage lineup. Sorry, ran over.
If I'm being honest, we'll talk about the Brentford game on Friday when we do our preview for it. But I'm suggesting all the Fulham players take lube because I'm not expecting it to be a pleasant experience. AJ, we were speaking during the game about some of the frustrations about the way we were playing. I thought for the first 20 minutes, up to when we scored and a couple of minutes afterwards, we did actually look pretty good. We have Everton really frightened when we were running at them with the ball, and Cesc was doing a great job of doing that. ESR, I thought the first 20 minutes of ESR on Saturday was probably some of the best football he's played in a very, very long time. And then you look at Bassi had 3 or 4 moments where he just sort of ran down the middle. Sander Berg had 3 or 4 moments where he ran at them. We had them absolutely petrified every time we were running at them with the ball. And if for some unknown reason we go 1-0 up and we just stop doing it, it was like we went 1-0 up and we went, yeah, we're good. Not realizing that we're not playing Fulham. We're not playing against teams that can't break you down. Like, it's frustrating to watch. What were your general thoughts of that? We'll go up to sort of the Everton equaliser, but what were your thoughts about how the frustrations of why we can never have an opening 20 minutes that's like the rest of the damn game?
I think you just summarised it in a sentence. We scored the goal and thought, yeah, that'll do. And I think that also came from the lineup as well. I think that the only other game we featured a squad similar to this was Wolves away, where we thought that we were a considerably better team than Wolves at that time, based on their recent form. And I think Marco's gone into this Everton fixture thinking, we're the better side. Let's just set up with a few changes. Seth is good enough at left back for this sort of game. We don't have to worry about it too much. We went 1-0 up after playing 15 minutes of brilliant Marco Silva football. And then after that, we're like, yeah, cool, we're good. We don't really need to do anything now. And then Everton actually showed up and were like, right, you don't want to play football? Fine, we will. After about 15 minutes, they saw that without any intervention from the manager, as far as I'm aware, without any sideline tactics, fake injuries, calling them for a water break and changing styles, they seem to have figured out on their own that Sander Berge was running the midfield and was breaking past people and creating openings for the rest of the team. So what did they do after 15 minutes? They had 2 men targeting Sander Berge just instinctively. Every time he picked up the ball, there were 2 players on him. He'd drift past one, he'd lose the ball to the other. We did nothing to adjust to that for the rest of the game. Nothing. Which meant that our main driving force out of midfield, bear in mind that we intentionally started with 1 defensive midfielder in this game and played 2 10s instead, was to have Sander Berge push up from midfield carrying the ball, which he's not going to ever do against 2 players every single time. He'd be lucky if he does it 1 in every 10 times, where he manages to dribble past 2 players. So from that point, the game was already causing us problems. There was no tactical alteration to say, right, he's being ganged up on here, someone give him support. Nope. Game started shifting from there. And then what happens? It all goes tits up when Everton once again attack us. And they don't need a ton of opportunities. They just need to be clinical. And then they can sit on what they've got and know that another opportunity is going to come because we will give them one. And they're confident in the fact that they can be clinical. I don't think we have it in us to play the way that Bournemouth played against us, to play the way that Everton played against us, to play the way that what was the game in between that was exactly the same as the Bournemouth game? The goal just came later on. Remind me, boys.
Not Southampton, was
Off
it?
my head up.
No, Southampton was
Oh,
end to end.
Arsenal away.
No, it wasn't even the Arsenal game. What game was it? The Villa game. Of course, we were all there. Yeah, the Villa game. The goal came a little bit later on, but same situation. We don't have it in us to play the way, and we wouldn't expect to at home anyway. But we don't have it in us to play the way they do because we are not confident in uh, our striking ability. We have no confidence in that we can be clinical. So instead, we try to dominate the ball and create as many half chances as humanly possible. And we're shit at it, endlessly shit at it. We have two number 10s, one who is supposed to be considered a Deadpool specialist and one who is supposed to be considered a dribbling specialist. Neither of them can break down a defence. Our best deliverer of a ball seems to be a player that is notoriously known to not be able to cross in Adama Traore. Like, what are we expecting to happen? Credit to Emil Smith Rowe for the goal because that was a hell of a delivery, and even more credit to Raul because that's the first time I think all this entire season where I've seen someone attack a ball in the air. Like it didn't drop to him, it didn't land where he was stood. He actively attacked the ball for the first time. I'm like, that excited me for the rest of the game, and then we scored, and then it all petered out. Like it's just so irritating because we're sitting here with the manager saying, yeah, we've got this many cup finals, this many cup finals, this many cup finals. Stop calling them fucking cup finals because we're god shit at cup finals, clearly. It's
I think there's a lot.
relentless. It's relentlessly poor. Sorry to rant, but it's relentlessly poor.
Look, we all want to rant because it was one of those games and it's a culmination of 3 or 4 months of absolutely dire football. For me, Everton's equaliser sums up exactly what was going to happen on Saturday. We said it in the preview show, right? When I said that the game will probably finish 1-1 or Everton will win 1-0 and it'll be because they do nothing all game, have one shot on target, and it'll be a massive deflection, and they'll score from it. And that's exactly what happened. They got a massive stroke of luck with their equaliser, but let's be honest, it's not unmerited because for the 20 minutes leading up to that goal, they were the only team that looked like they were actually attempting to play football. We completely lost track of what we were doing on the pitch. Half time comes around, and I was having a conversation with a couple of people around me, and we were talking about if there was ever a moment where Marco needs to be proactive and make some halftime substitutions, it was then because we needed to get back to having the ball at our feet and running at Everton because they weren't doing well with it. You were absolutely right with talking about Sanderberg and getting double teamed because he had about 5 or 6 times he got the ball and he ran through the middle and they looked like he was playing absolutely amazingly, and then they switched on, double teamed him, and it's really hard to tell exactly who was playing as his centre midfield partner at that point. I think it was Andreas Pereira, but wasn't giving him any outlets at all, wasn't giving him any options at all. So Sanderberg was almost left in a position where he knew I'm about to run into 2 players and I've got nothing I can do about it because there's no passes on. There's nothing on for me. I've just got to try keep doing it. And it was super frustrating to watch. We go into halftime 1-1, and Everton have had 1 shot realistically on target, and they haven't really offered much in that. Right? We come out second half, and we were poor. We were like literally, we just again this thing. I don't know what happens at half time. I don't know if we send the players off in because the changing rooms are small. Do they get sent off to like little separate places? Like because they don't look like they talk to each other. We started second half again. It was really, really unable to complete a couple of passes in a row. Players stopped making those runs going forward that we needed, and it was calling out for substitutions to happen. And the fact that we then waited the typical 63rd minute substitution of Smith Rowe going off, who frustratingly was probably, as I said earlier on, was probably one of the best games he's had for Fulham this season, gets taken off. Understandably, fitness-wise, he's probably not up for much more than that. Adama Traore comes on, Iwobi goes into the middle, and it stunts us completely. Traore has them scared a bit every time he gets the ball and he's running at them because, they didn't like being ran at. But for some other reason, we then stopped trying to do it. And we go back to having that same issue that we had at Villa and the week before and the week before that, where Raul is the one winning headers on the halfway line, but out on the bloody wings. He's winning headers out on the wings, and then Adama Traore is running onto them. And what's the point of having Adama Traore there winning balls to run at people if there's nobody to cross the ball to in the box? He can't keep hold of the ball long enough for everyone to catch up. It's really frustrating how we've had 2.5 months of the exact same football, and no one at Fulham's gone, we need to change this up a little bit. We got away with it against Liverpool, and I'm going to say we got away with it against Liverpool because, we matched them and it worked. But the games since have been absolutely dire. Mozza, that second half, right? Everton scored 2 quick goals. The first one's frustrating because it's poor marking from a corner. The second one, the third goal, is even more frustrating because it's probably some of the worst keeping I've seen Leno do in a very long time. And I've said it for months now that every time Leno makes a mistake, he's almost got credit in the bank and it's allowed. But I feel like now it's time that we can start maybe questioning him because he's not good at shots from distance. He gets beaten easily from close range too much, and the Poppadom risks on show on Saturday were just embarrassing to watch. Everton didn't try at that point and had got a 2-goal lead, and then we were just chasing and had no chance. Like, what are your general feelings about that second half? Because for me, it was just so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, well, let's start with Leno. Like I am a fan of him. I think he is genuinely, well, up until recently, he has been one of the best keepers that Fulham have signed. I think this has not been the best season for him, but then you could say that about the whole team, the last half of it all. Yeah, I don't understand why he gets caught unawares with long-range shots, but he's done that too many times, and it is a concern. It's very eyebrow-raising. You look at maybe our B-team keeper, if you like, Bender. I mean, I don't think he's really proved himself to take over that first team spot. So hence why he's been in the cup games. But even then, he's looked a bit suspect himself. So when it comes to goalkeeping, if we're going to talk about the art of that, which I have experience in, but limited experience in, I am very aware that it's a cliche saying that you're only as good as your back four, as it were, or however many people there are in the line of defence. I think the defence situation has hindered him a lot when it comes to those long range shots. But we have seen other set pieces like corners. The Villa game, for example, you said Poppadom wrists. Yeah, he should be better than that. I still don't understand why he doesn't take like proper goal kicks with the short balls out to defence, and it gets passed back to him, and then we get caught again, stuff like that. So I don't know it's definitely not his choice of tactic. It is concerning, but I do stick by my guns here and say I think he is a decent keeper. I just think it's what's in front of him that needs to change a bit more. And I'm not just talking about defence, I suppose, but my point is, yeah, if he is sort of a bit more reliant on defence, who should close down players who give the opposition too much space, too much respect in order to get a shot off outside the edge of the box. I don't think it's all his fault, but because he's not so much used to that, he gets done by it. So maybe that's one for them to work on when they're down Motspur Park during the week. But I say this as a person where I'm trying to be positive. We talk about goalkeepers. My favourite Fulham player of all time is Edwin van der Sar. I think he's the best keeper that we've had. Who would I put in second and third place? I don't know. I thought Areola was great when he was with us in the short time that we had him. I was gutted that we didn't hold on to him. So I would probably put Leno just about third place, but he's very, very slowly sliding down that slippery slope. So no one else is going to throw him the crampons, as it were. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole other discussion, I guess, about goalkeepers. But I will end my rant there personally.
No, we have to. The thing for me that's so frustrating is that we go 2 goals behind in a game we're chasing, and then Marco makes 2 of the strangest substitutions I've seen him make all season. Because you've just conceded a 3rd goal, shockingly to go 2 goals down against a team that are going to sit back and not do anything. You have to be the team that make the emphasis on the ball. And he brings on Willian and Tom Kenny. I'm sorry, I love Tom Kenny. Everyone knows how much I love Tom Kenny. The legs are gone. The legs are gone, and if there's ever been a time for him to maybe go reflect, and if he doesn't stay on at the end of the season, completely understand it. Willian hasn't had many minutes of late for Fulham, other than a couple of substitute appearances, and I think it's the same thing. I don't quite think the legs and the head are there anymore, which is a bit of a shame to say because 36-year-old Willian is just as good as 35-year-old Willian, and just as good as 34-year-old Willian. But you know, we're not playing the right style of football to let him flourish, and it's stupid. Like for like substitutions, when your game plan isn't working, is the most frustrating thing about Marco Silva. And I know we have to make this disclaimer every time you want to criticize him that I'm Marco in. I don't want to lose Marco Silva. He's still the most important thing at Fulham. But I walked out of the game on Saturday, and I texted to you guys. I was like, if he left tomorrow, I don't think I'd care right now because I'm beyond having these conversations every single week about his in-game management and his in-game substitutions, his inability to adapt in a game, ability to sort of bring on new emphasis into a game, have to change things up. He just can't do it, and part of that's down to the fact that he's so reliant on this small squad that he loves that it means that we don't have the players to do it. We're really seeing at the moment at Fulham the bite back of that because we've got 4 players out injured that potentially could have been playing. You know, we are seeing that the youth squad that are coming in and not getting like 10 minutes here and there. They're not really going to do much with that. Saturday's game was absolutely yelling out for Godot and King to come on at halftime. Was absolutely screaming for it because both of those players like to get the ball on the pitch and like to get the ball and run at people. And that was what was working for us in the first half. And they're a bit unknown, so they probably wouldn't have been double teamed. Like Bender was getting double teamed, like Bassi was getting double teamed every time he got the ball. But Berger Bender. So it's because we were just talking about Leno. But it's frustrating that we make these subs that change absolutely nothing, and then we bring them on, and by this point the game's gone. There's 8 minutes left in the game. We're creating nothing. Right, we're not doing it. It's the same old rinse and repeat attack from Fulham. Great work, get to the edge of the box, back it goes. Great work, get to the edge of the box, back it goes. Or a little floaty crossing that doesn't do anything, and it's really frustrating. And yes, we had that moment right at the end of the game when, for me, we should have had a penalty. The fact it wasn't given is pointless anyway, because even if we scored it, the game finishes 3-2. It was a nothing moment anyway, right? So it's not like we can be annoyed about it. But I think people who are starting to question Marco Silva are starting to be justified more and more for doing so, because there's getting real frustrations in some of the things he does during games. Drew, we spoke about it at length, right, after the Villa game when we were coming home,
Right.
about the frustrations that he doesn't see stuff that everybody else can see around him on the pitch. Like when subs he makes, or the fact that he doesn't seem to have a plan B, or the fact that is it because of the small squad and that he just doesn't have the personnel to make those changes, or is it just because he's a bit stubborn in his approach to the game and he doesn't really want to maybe admit that he's got it wrong?
You posed some very interesting questions there. The short answer is I don't know, but you've touched on a couple of themes. Number one, I mean, it would have been almost heresy for people to say last season that if Marco Silva left, it would be like thanks for the memories, you know. But now people are becoming a little bit more ambivalent. Now I desperately want him to stay, but as you quite rightly say, more and more people, in my humble opinion, have legitimate reasons for asking questions. I think he is quite stubborn. I think he's very, this is the way I want to play, and this is what we're going to do, and I don't have a problem with that. But we've lost 28 points from winning positions across the season. Yeah. Now I'm talking about across the season, Ash. I know you've been focusing on the last 2 or 3 months and how we've effectively fallen off a cliff, and I accept that. And everything you say, I don't disagree with. But I'm talking holistically across the season. Yeah. Now that is a trend. That is a trend. Now what's causing that? Well, it could be a lot of things. And I don't think there's one answer. I think you're quite right. I think that Marco has gone on record saying that he prefers a smaller squad. I don't have a problem with that. But we saw how much the squad struggled when we were trying to maintain a European push and an FA Cup final run. The team has been running on fumes for months. We all know that, you know. And I've said this before. I think Ash, the first time I brought it up would have been the after the international break, the capitulation at home to Wolves, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Now Wolves that day beat us 4-1, but they had 4 shots. And to be fair to Wolves, they didn't need to get out second gear. And Marco seems to be completely oblivious or not in tune with the condition of his squad. And as you quite rightly said, half time on Saturday, we needed an injection of youth. We needed something different, but he won't do it. And my question is, to what end? I mean, Bassey's come out today in the media and said, you know, it's not over yet. We still believe in Europe. I mean, come on. You know, there's a lot of intelligent people, that go to Fulham to watch the team. You got people from all sorts of walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different professions. We may not have UEFA coaching licenses, but we're not idiots. I know they can't come out and say, oh, it's over, you know, we're rubbish, we're flat. I understand that because, you know, psychologically that would be the nail in the coffin. But please, as you said, Marco talks about cup finals. We haven't got the energy for cup finals. We haven't got the energy to last a full game. Literally a complete half. What are the reasons? I think one of the things I've imposed on Twitter is, you know, people talk about taking the next steps. You know, Marco's got to be backed, and that's right. But Marco's also got to ask himself: is what he is doing enough to get us further up the league? His apparent intransigence when it comes to not playing youth. I don't know who that serves. I genuinely don't know who that serves. His refusal to rotate. You know, the limits of his desire for a small squad are there for all to see. Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason that, you know, teams that make assaults on silverware have bigger squads, have more depth, because you simply can't sustain it. If we are to take that next step, I appreciate people that say Marco needs to be back to right. I mean, the last 2 seasons he's lost his best 2 players. I understand that. But like I say, he's the one that's chosen the small squad. He's the one that picks the team. He's the one that doesn't seem to be in tune with the conditioning of his team or its energy levels. He's the one who's managed a team that's lost 28 points from winning positions. Yeah, he's the one that decides to rely on older players who are carrying injuries. No one else. No one else. So as much as I want him to stay, as much as I think he needs to be backed, he's also got some questions to ask himself. And as for his in-game management, I mean, AJ's, bless him, has covered it exhaustively in respect of the Everton game. Poor Sunday Berge. I mean, he made his name on powerful runs going forward, but he was completely outmatched. Look at Chelsea. Look at the Chelsea game. In the first half, none of you boys can tell me, right, that they look like a Champions League team. We played them off the park, but they made adjustments at half time. And what did we do? I mean, we were screaming out at 50 minutes, he needs to change things, and he didn't. And he got outmaneuvered. I mean, people talk about, his tactical nous and stuff, and I have no doubt he's a highly intelligent man. But I mean, he got turned over twice by Glasner. Yeah. He got outmaneuvered by Maresca. Moyes, as AJ said, a simple adjustment to neutralise Berge, who's running the midfield. We do nothing. I mean, ESR had a good game, but with the greatest
Yeah, good
respect,
15 minutes.
good 15 minutes. We've played better than he has done, right?
Yeah, fair.
With the best will in the world, yeah. Neither him nor Pereira, yeah, are runners and tacklers, are proper eights. I mean, everyone in the ground could see it. Everyone in the ground could see it. But what was Marco watching? So, like I said, there's some Fulham fans that won't have it. Just think Marco's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And don't get me wrong, like I've said repeatedly, I still think he's Fulham's biggest asset. But I think this season has shown, as we've tried to pursue loftier ambitions. Yeah, everyone, including Marco, has got some questions to answer.
Yeah, I think what Saturday did was underlined and highlighted the point that I made last week, where I said that I don't think Marco's taken Fulham as far as Marco can take Fulham, but I think he's taking this squad as far as he can take this squad. I think there's a lot of issues going forward, and we're going to have some challenges, and over the next couple of weeks we will have discussions about where it went wrong, at what point that we blame, because there'll be some people that will blame Marco's in game, there'll be people that will blame the January transfer window, there'll be people that blame the start of the season and the way that the squad was set up. We will have that discussion next couple of weeks, and if you're watching this, feel free to sort of comment and let us know what you're thinking, because it's interesting to hear what other Fulham fans think about where this actually started to go wrong. Because for me, I say last 3 or 4 months. Well, that's indicative to go back to January, and when we just didn't add to anything in the transfer market. But we'll see. We'll see what goes with that, lads. I'm not going to give a man the match of this game because I came out of it way too angry to even see any positives. We've had to wait an extra day to do a recording because I was literally seething so much over the weekend that I would have been effing and jeffing about everyone rather than actually giving the man the match, and I've needed the extra day to recover.
Maybe I needed an extra day then.
Yeah, it's not been good, but it's always nice to sort of talk about it and then we can move on. We'll be back on Friday, obviously, to do our Brentford preview. It's going to be an interesting one because I don't see a lot of positivity growing between now and then. But we'll see. You never know. You'll never know. Something might happen, and we might have our hopes up, but who knows? Thanks very much for joining me, guys. Obviously, enjoy your week, and we'll see you ready for that Brentford preview. Everyone, please do come and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Follow us on socials. Have a good week. I have nothing more to say really other than come on, you whites.